the laughter of the galaxy. The Grand Council Hall was filled with light, voices, and pride, yet it felt heavy with arrogance. Alien leaders from every corner of the galaxy sat in their high seats, dressed in gold, silver, and strange glowing cloth. They had gathered to discuss war, power, and the small blue world they thought was weak, Earth. At the center of the hall, a giant screen showed the human ship that had entered the neutral starfield. It was plain, gray, and simple. No shining banners, no massive wings, no glowing shields. Compared to the grand fleets of the empires, it looked like an old wreck drifting in space. The alien commanders burst into laughter. The sound echoed like thunder in the hall. Some clapped their claws on the tables, others slapped their tails on the ground. A council speaker leaned forward and sneered, his scaled mouth wide in mockery. "Is this what humanity calls strength? A ship that looks older than our history?" Another delegate hissed. "I have seen scrapyards with better vessels. Are humans truly so desperate?" The laughter grew louder, crueler, filling the chamber with the sound of contempt. Even young cadets in the gallery pointed and laughed, their eyes shining with the joy of watching a weaker species humiliate itself. But the human captain stood, still. His image showed on the council screen. He wore no armor, no crown, no glowing jewels, just a simple dark uniform. His face was calm, almost too calm. He listened to the insults in silence, his eyes cold as stone. Inside the chamber, one elder alien raised a claw for silence. He had lived long enough to remember old wars, wars buried in history. His eyes narrowed at the sight of the vessel. "That design," he whispered to himself, unheard by most. "It cannot be." But his warning was drowned under the storm of laughter. The council speaker banged his staff and declared, "The matter is settled. Humanity sends a relic instead of a warship. They do not deserve fear, only pity. The galaxy shall wipe their name from the stars." Cheers erupted. Alien fleets were already preparing to crush the weak Terran vessel. Generals barked orders, soldiers sharpened weapons, and smugglers placed bets on how quickly the human ship would fall. Some said 1 hour, some said 10 minutes. Yet far from the noise of the council in the dark cold of space, the human ship drifted in silence. Its hull carried scars, lines of battle damage that had not been polished away. Strange markings ran along its sides, old Earth symbols that no alien could understand. Inside the ship, corridors hummed with quiet power. The crew moved with discipline, their steps firm, their eyes steady. They did not laugh. They did not panic. They knew what their vessel carried. The captain walked the command deck, his hands behind his back. He looked at the stars, then at the screens showing the gathering alien armadas. Fleets of shining ships, each larger and newer than his own, filled the void with their presence. Yet his lips curved into the faintest smile. "They think we are weak," he said softly. His officers nodded, silent but loyal. No one on the alien council could hear the hidden pulse running deep within the human vessel. The sound was low, steady, like the heartbeat of something ancient waking from sleep. The ship was not just metal and engines, it was history, memory, and power long forgotten. But the aliens only saw what they wanted to see, a fragile shell. They laughed, mocked, and celebrated in their pride. They believed victory was already theirs. And so the galaxy laughed. But laughter has a way of breaking when truth arrives. The ship that shouldn't exist. The alien fleets moved closer, their ships shining like jewels in the darkness. Thousands of vessels, each with glowing shields and humming cannons, surrounded the lonely human ship. To them it looked like a ghost from the scrapyard, something that should have been forgotten centuries ago. Alien scouts were the first to approach. Small, fast ships darted around the gray vessel, scanning its hull with beams of green and blue light. Their reports returned quickly to the commanders. No advanced shields detected. No energy spikes in its weapons. Engines appear, outdated. The alien admirals laughed again, confident in their readings. The humans had brought nothing more than a broken relic. Yet not all were convinced. In a dark corner of the flagship, a veteran officer frowned at the data. He leaned closer to the screen and whispered, "No, this can't be right." His claws tapped nervously. "That design, I saw it in Forbidden Archives. That ship is older than our empire itself." But his warnings were ignored. Pride was louder than caution. Rumors began spreading through the fleets. Some soldiers whispered that the ship was cursed. Others said it was a bluff, a trick by desperate humans. But among the oldest species, a single name began to echo in hushed voices: Saul's relic. No one wanted to believe it. That name belonged to old stories told in silence, about a ship built in humanity's first age of war, a ship forged when Earth was still crawling into the stars. They said it carried weapons too terrible to use, machines that broke planets and turned suns into shadows. The Council had buried those stories long ago. They had declared them myths. But now, seeing the gray vessel floating calm and silent, even the bravest felt unease. Inside the human ship, the crew worked in silence. They ignored the alien broadcasts mocking them. Their hands moved across controls, their eyes watching ancient screens that flickered with symbols no alien could read. In the heart of the ship, deep below decks, machines older than memory stirred. Gears shifted, reactors pulsed, and weapons hummed faintly as if waking from a long dream. The ship was alive, not in the way aliens understood, but in the way history breathes. The captain stood at the command chair. His officers waited for his word, but he gave none. He simply watched as the alien fleets tightened their circle. His face showed no fear. The alien admirals began their broadcast. A giant image filled every human screen, the sneering face of a scaled commander with burning yellow eyes. "Human captain," the alien hissed, "you insult the galaxy by bringing a broken shell to our war. Surrender, and perhaps we will let your people live as slaves." The human captain did not answer. He let the silence stretch until even the aliens grew uneasy. Then, with a calm voice, he said, "You think this ship is broken. You think it is weak. But you don't understand what it truly is." The alien commanders laughed again, dismissing his words. They prepared to fire the first volley, eager to crush the relic and prove their dominance. But just as the order was about to be given, the human ship moved. Slowly at first, then faster. Its engines flared with a light no alien sensor could recognize. The old hull trembled, not from weakness, but from power building deep inside. The veteran alien officer who had studied the archives felt his throat dry. He whispered in terror, "No, it lives." On their scanners, strange readings appeared. The human ship's energy levels spiked, far beyond what its design should allow. Shields unseen by modern science unfolded like invisible wings. Weapons that should not exist powered up, locking onto the alien fleets with cold precision. Whispers of fear spread across the alien armadas. Soldiers looked at each other with wide eyes. Admirals shouted orders, but their voices shook. The laughter that had filled the galaxy was fading. For the first time, they realized the truth. This was not a weak ship. This was something else. Something that should not exist. A relic from a time when humanity had built war machines to challenge the stars themselves. And it was awake. The first clash in the void. The void between the stars was quiet, but tension pressed on every ship. Thousands of alien vessels formed a glittering wall, their weapons glowing with fire. At the center of it all drifted the human ship, gray, scarred, and silent. The alien admirals gave their orders. "End this farce," one hissed. "Destroy the relic and let the galaxy see humanity's shame." The first shots came in waves. Beams of green, blue, and red light struck the human vessel. Explosions rippled across its hull, smoke and sparks flashing in the darkness. Alien soldiers cheered as the blasts continued, their voices ringing with triumph. But when the light faded, the ship still floated there. Silent. Unbroken. Confusion spread through the alien fleets. "Increase power," another commander shouted. More cannons roared, more plasma shells slammed into the vessel. The stars themselves seemed to burn with fire. Yet when the smoke cleared again, The gray ship remained. Its scars glowed faintly, but the hull did not break. On the human command deck, the crew worked with calm focus. Shields hummed with a strange rhythm, older than any alien design. They absorbed the storm of energy, channeling it deep into the ship's ancient core. What looked like weakness was actually strength. The vessel was feeding on the attacks. The captain's voice was steady. "Hold fire. Let them waste their power." His eyes narrowed as he watched alien ships circle like predators that did not yet know they were prey. Then the ship moved. Slowly at first, then with sudden speed. Its engines flared, not with the steady blue of alien drives, but with a wild, golden blaze. The human vessel darted forward, cutting through the enemy line like a knife through silk. Alien pilots panicked. "It's too fast," one cried. "That ship shouldn't move like this." Cannons turned, but the gray vessel was already gone, sliding past their targeting systems with impossible precision. In a single breath, it vanished from one position and reappeared behind the enemy flank. Then, for the first time, the ship fired. A single beam of light erupted from its side, narrow and silent. It struck an alien cruiser, and the vessel simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no wreckage, just silence, as if the ship had been erased from reality. Shock spread like fire. The alien fleet reeled back, but the human ship did not stop. Another beam lanced out, then another. With each strike, another cruiser vanished. The laughter that had once filled the council chambers was gone, replaced by shouts of fear. "Impossible," an alien admiral screamed. "No weapon should do this, no ship should move like this." Yet the truth was plain before their eyes. Humanity's relic was not fragile. It was not weak. It was a predator, and the fleets of the galaxy were nothing more than prey. Inside the ship, the crew's faces were calm but grim. They had trained for this moment, for the awakening of their ancient vessel. Each order was simple, each move precise. No panic, no fear, only purpose. The captain's voice carried through the deck. "Target their flagships. Let the council know we are not afraid." The ship obeyed. Cannons older than empires roared again. Entire battle groups fell in moments. Alien screams filled comms channels, but the human ship ignored them. It moved like a shadow, every strike clean, every kill final. And still the captain had not given the order to unleash the ship's full power. This was only the beginning. Among the alien fleets, fear turned into chaos. Some captains ordered retreat, their ships fleeing into hyperspace. Others screamed for reinforcements, begging their empires to send more ships, but the human vessel hunted them down one by one. From afar, in the Grand Council Hall, the alien leaders watched the battle in silence. Their laughter was gone. Their pride was bleeding into fear. One elder counselor whispered, "We should never have provoked them." For the first time in centuries, the galaxy remembered something it had forgotten. Humanity's silence was not weakness. It was warning. The awakening of legends. The battlefield had turned into a graveyard. Alien wrecks drifted silently, their glowing engines broken, their proud banners torn into dust. And in the middle of the chaos, the gray human ship floated calm and steady, like a hunter waiting for the next strike. The galaxy's fleets had come with pride, but pride had burned quickly. Now fear spread through every channel. Messages of panic echoed across the stars. "Retreat, it's unstoppable. That ship cannot be real. We are dying." Yet despite the fear, more fleets arrived. Empires could not accept humiliation at the hands of one vessel. Reinforcements warped in from every corner, filling the void with countless warships. The darkness was alive with enemy light, the numbers overwhelming. Inside the human ship, the crew remained calm. Their hands moved across controls, their eyes steady on ancient screens. No one spoke of retreat. No one asked if they could win. They had been chosen for this ship, and they knew what it carried. In the heart of the vessel, deep below the command deck, the awakening began. Machines that had slept for centuries stirred. Ancient reactors glowed, their light older than the empires that now attacked. Symbols of old Earth lit up across steel walls, words no alien could ever read. The ship itself seemed to breathe as if alive. Its pulse grew louder, a steady thrum that shook the very hull. The crew felt it through their boots, through their bones, a reminder of what they carried, history's wrath. The captain stood at the command chair, his eyes locked on the endless fleets gathering outside. For the first time, his voice carried a sharp edge. Activate the core. His officers hesitated only for a second. Then they obeyed. The ship changed. Across its scarred hull, panels shifted and slid aside. Hidden weapons revealed themselves, black and silent. Long barrels extended like the arms of an ancient beast. Energy surged through them, glowing with power unseen for 1,000 years. Alien sensors screamed warnings. Energy levels spiked far beyond anything their computers could understand. Admirals barked orders in panic. Shut it down, destroy it before it fires. But it was already too late. The first blast tore through the void. A wave of golden light ripped across the alien fleets, cutting through shields as if they were paper. Entire squadrons vanished in an instant, erased in silence. No wreckage, no screams, only empty space where ships had once been. The alien fleets broke apart. Some scattered, some charged desperately. Others froze in horror. None of it mattered. The relic had awakened. Inside the command deck, silence ruled. No cheers, no shouts, only grim faces as the crew watched the destruction. They were not fighting for pride or for joy. They were fighting to remind the galaxy of a truth forgotten. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was dangerous. The captain's voice was quiet but strong. This ship is 1,000 years old. Built when Earth bled, when we swore never to be broken again. The galaxy thought we buried these machines. But we kept them. We remembered. His words were carried across open channels, reaching every alien ship, every council chamber, every throne. The message was clear. Humanity had not sent a relic. Humanity had sent a warning. Alien admirals shouted in fear, their voices cracking. Impossible! Those weapons were banned before our empires were born. Then you should have left us alone, the captain replied coldly. Another beam fired, another fleet fell. The council's laughter, once loud and cruel, was now gone. In its place was silence. The silence of fear, the silence of respect, the silence of legends waking from their sleep. The gray vessel pressed forward, its engines burning like a star. Every alien eye watched in terror. Every mind whispered the same thought. If one human ship can do this, what else are they hiding? The answer was left unspoken. Fear in the Empire, news of the battle spread faster than light. From the ruined fleets, near the neutral starfield, broken transmissions carried across every empire. Panicked voices shouted half-finished reports, then were cut short by silence. Commanders who had once mocked humanity now sent desperate calls for help, their signals filled with fear. In the capital worlds of the empires, fear grew like wildfire. Holograms of the human ship played in council chambers, market squares, and military academies. Citizens stared at the image of the gray vessel, scarred but alive, drifting calmly in space after destroying entire armadas. Children asked their parents, "How can something so old be stronger than us?" But no parent had an answer. In the Narrated Grand Council Hall, the same leaders who had laughed at humanity sat pale and trembling. No one dared to mock now. Their claws tapped nervously on the table, their tails flicked with unease, their voices hushed. The council speaker who had declared humanity a joke now found it hard to speak at all. An elder alien broke the silence. That ship, it is not just a relic. It is proof. Proof that humanity never trusted us. They kept their war machines, hidden, waiting. His voice shook with a mix of awe and terror. If this is only one, how many more are sleeping in the dark? The question hung heavy in the chamber. No one answered. Across the empires, soldiers whispered in their barracks. Merchants refused to send ships near Terran space. Admirals studied old maps searching for clues about how humanity had hidden such power. Fear turned to paranoia. Some claimed Earth had fleets of these ancient vessels buried in their home system. Others whispered about entire planets turned into weapons. Inside the human ship, the crew monitored the chaos through intercepted channels. Reports of fear and retreat played across their screens. The captain listened in silence, then spoke softly. They are afraid now. Good. But fear is not enough. They must remember. His officers nodded. They understood. The ship had not been sent only to fight. It had been sent to teach. The alien fleets still outnumbered them, but numbers meant nothing. Now, every admiral who had once been eager for glory hesitated to attack. Every soldier who had once laughed now thought of death. Fear had rooted itself deeper than any weapon could strike. Still, pride clashed with fear. Some empires refused to accept defeat. Their rulers roared from their thrones, demanding vengeance. New fleets gathered, larger than before, filled with ships desperate to erase the shame of their earlier losses. But the soldiers boarding those ships did so with trembling hands. They had seen the recordings. They had heard the silence after human weapons fired. They knew they were flying toward death. Back in the Grand Council Hall, arguments broke out. Some demanded peace with humanity. Others demanded war, no matter the cost. The council chamber shook with the sound of shouting. Old alliances cracked, each empire blaming the other for underestimating Earth. Amid the chaos, one truth united. Them, the galaxy, was afraid. Afraid of one ship, one captain, one species that had turned silence into power. The human ship drifted closer to the empire borders. It made no threats, no demands. Its silence was louder than war. To the galaxy, silence meant danger now. The captain finally opened a wide channel, his voice echoing into every council, every empire, every home. You called us weak. You called us broken. But you were wrong. This ship is older than your empires, older than your pride. We built it when the stars themselves feared us, and we kept it, not as a weapon of conquest, but as a reminder. Do not mistake our silence for weakness. The message was simple, but its weight crushed every throne room and council chamber. Silence followed, thick and heavy. And then, fear turned into obedience. Orders spread quietly. Do not approach Terran space, do not provoke the humans. The message of humanity, the void, was silent. No alien ships dared to fire again. Wrecks floated cold and lifeless, while the gray human vessel drifted steady, its engines glowing faintly like the heartbeat of a giant. The galaxy watched in fear. Across 100 systems, broadcasts repeated the same image, the scarred Terran ship standing alone against empires. Citizens whispered in markets, soldiers trembled in their barracks, and rulers argued in their courts. All waited for humanity to speak. On the human command deck, the crew stood ready. The captain rose from his chair, his face calm but sharp. His voice carried across the ship. Transmit wideband. A single tone echoed as the channels opened. Every empire, every fleet, every council chamber received the transmission. The captain's image appeared. Simple uniform, steady eyes. No crown, no arrogance, just a man who spoke with the weight of Earth behind him. You mocked us, he began, his words slow and clear. You called our ship weak. You called our people broken. You laughed at what you could not understand. He paused. The silence was heavy, almost painful. In council halls, leaders shifted uncomfortably. Soldiers clenched their fists, listening. This vessel is 1,000 years old, the captain continued. It was built in humanity's darkest age, when betrayal and blood filled our skies. It carries weapons forged in fire and despair, weapons we swore never to use again. We hid it, not out of fear, but out of choice. Because humanity does not hunger for war. His words carried into every corner of the galaxy. Some aliens leaned closer, uneasy, while others looked away in shame. But you forced our hand, the captain said, his tone harder now. You came with fleets, with arrogance, with laughter. You thought we were prey, and now you see the truth. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity remembers. Humanity endures. On the alien worlds, silence spread. The citizens who once laughed now felt cold dread. Admirals who had sworn to crush Earth stared at the floor. The council speaker who had mocked humanity covered his face with trembling hands. The captain's eyes narrowed. His voice dropped lower, carrying more weight than any weapon. Understand this. If one ship can bring you to silence, imagine what waits in the shadows of Earth. Imagine what other legends we have kept. Do not test us again. The message ended with no roar, no threat, only silence. The broadcast cut, leaving only the image of the gray vessel drifting calmly among the stars. That silence spread across the galaxy. It was heavier than any words. Empires that had ruled for millennia now trembled before a single ship. Children whispered the captain's words as if they were prophecy. Old generals remembered ancient tales of human wars and realized the stories were true. Inside the human ship, the crew exhaled softly. They had delivered the message. Their hands loosened from controls, their eyes softening, but none smiled. This was not victory. This was a warning, one the galaxy would never forget. The captain returned to his chair. His officers looked to him for the next order, but he gave none. Instead, he looked at the stars beyond, his face unreadable. "We have reminded them," he said quietly. "Now they will decide whether they have learned." Far away, in the Grand Council Hall, alien leaders argued once more. Some shouted for peace, others demanded revenge, their pride refusing to die. But none could hide the fear in their voices. They all knew the truth. The galaxy was no longer laughing. The silence after the storm. The battlefield was quiet. No more weapons fired. No more fleets advanced. Only wrecks drifted slowly through the black, their broken pieces catching the pale light of distant stars. The galaxy's proud armadas had fallen silent, and at the center of it all, the human ship remained, scarred, steady and undefeated. In the alien capitals, silence ruled as well. Crowds gathered in markets and plazas, staring at giant screens replaying the final images, a lone Terran vessel standing against countless fleets. The laughter that once shook the council halls was gone. Now, whispers filled the air. Is humanity truly that strong? If one ship could do this, how many more do they hide? What if Earth decides to strike next? Fear had become a shadow across every empire. Leaders who had once boasted of their fleets now sat pale and trembling on their thrones. No empire dared send another attack. No admiral volunteered to challenge the humans again. In the Grand Council Hall, the speaker who had mocked humanity sat in shame. His voice, once loud and proud, was gone. The chamber that had once echoed with laughter now held only uneasy silence. Even the youngest cadets who had laughed the hardest now lowered their eyes, afraid to speak. On the human ship, the crew moved quietly through the corridors. They did not celebrate. They did not cheer. Their faces showed no joy, only calm, focus. They knew what they had done was not victory but reminder. The captain stood at the command deck, his gaze fixed on the stars beyond. Around him, his officers waited for orders, but none came. Instead, the captain spoke softly, his voice more to himself than to anyone else. They mocked us. They tested us. Now they understand. Let the galaxy remember this silence. The crew nodded. They understood that the silence now carried more weight than any roar of battle. The galaxy would never forget the ship that stood alone. As the vessel drifted away from the ruins, alien scouts followed from a distance, too afraid to come closer. They watched as the gray ship slowly turned, its engines burning gold, and vanished into the void. Its departure left a haunting emptiness, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. Messages spread across the galaxy faster than fire. Some called the ship a monster, a ghost of war, a curse from Earth's past. Others called it a legend, a guardian, proof that humanity could never be broken. Every empire gave it a name in their own language, but one title echoed the most: the Silent Relic. On Earth, the people did not cheer either. They watched the broadcasts with calm eyes, remembering the promise their ancestors had made. Never again would humanity be mocked, enslaved, or forgotten. The ship had not gone to conquer. It had gone to remind the stars that humans endured. In the alien courts, rulers whispered of secret plans. Some spoke of peace treaties, others of vengeance. But deep inside, all knew the truth. They would never look at humanity the same way again. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was united by a single emotion: fear. And yet, within that fear, respect was born. The silence after the storm carried across every world, every council, every throne. The galaxy now knew the truth of humanity. Age was not weakness, silence was not surrender, and one ship was enough to change everything. The story of the relic spread like legend, carried from soldier to child, from captain to ruler. In time, the laughter would be forgotten. But the silence of a galaxy that dared not speak against humanity again, would remain.